Welcome folks, it's Scott and Modeler X, and I wanted to go through just a generic how-to on wiring up these through-hole LEDs with their accompanying resistor and get it ready for application in a model. Now for this particular one I'm using 3mm red LEDs, but there's a whole assortment in sizes and colors, and most of the manufacturers or distributors send the resistors with them. If they don't, generally, but you should make sure you check it out, and there are formulas depending on your voltage and resistance and the current that's drawn from the LED itself. But generally, if you're working with a 12-volt system, there's sort of two categories, and they're differentiated by their color. The yellow and red ones need a 560 ohm resistor, and everybody else needs a 470. So if you're using a 12-volt system, that's the one to go to. And when I get these, I usually just write up at the top 560 and keep them in my drawer. And then when I'm ready to use them, we get it out, get it ready. And so the first step I do is I usually want to test to make sure the LED is good. So let's go ahead and actually put the resistor in line. These two are from my 12-volt power supply, and I'm going to attach one to the 560 ohm resistor, and then I'm just going to use a clip lead here to attach the other side. So now we have red and black, which correspond to positive and negative, and we'll just attach these to the LED. As you can see, it comes on just fine. Now for these particular guys, I've ground down the top of the lens for a very specific application. As you can see that. You can do that as long as you don't get inside of that little bubble right in there. You can see that. There's a little gap inside there where the diode actually does its thing. And you can grind these little lenses down as far as you want, but if you invade that area, it will not work anymore. So we'll disconnect all of these clip leads and get ready to test with them later. So the first step is I need this resistor to be fairly close to the LED just for the application that I'm doing, but you could attach a wire to it and pull the wire down into the model and have the resistor somewhere else. But as long as the resistor is somewhere in the line of its power, you should be good to go. So let's just grab the resistor here, and what I try to do is kind of pull the legs apart a little bit. It's going out of focus. Pull the legs apart and then kind of hold the top here, and I'm going to wrap this around the positive lead, and I just kind of take the resistor and twirl it around the lead a couple times so we get sort of a wrapped wire there. Now the next step is where we pull out our helping hands, the most helpful things in the universe. And we're going to clamp that right onto, if I can turn this a little bit better, we're going to clamp that right onto the lens of the LED. So you can see that we have an LED and it's a corresponding resistor wrapped onto the positive lead. And grab our soldering iron. And the solder I use is a 6040 rosin core with a 0.032 inch diameter. It's kind of looks like that. It's not the thick stuff, because it just works better for the modeling if it's the thin stuff. So let's we'll clean the tip of our soldering iron off with the wet sponge, and then we're just going to get a little solder onto the soldering iron, and then we're going to touch it right to this little coiled area where the two wires are coiled together, and blow it cool a little bit. And now, as you can see, this is got a nice solder joint right there. The one thing we do want to do is, and I'm going to do this off camera so I don't mess up my work, go through and clip off all the things you don't need. And in this case, I'm going to pull these wires apart. Oops, I dropped it. All this mystery behind the scenes. But what I've essentially done here, if you can see that, is this wire here and then this wire here can be clipped off, but don't clip the connection. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this one, which is actually the leg of the resistor, the long leg, and then the other one is the leg of the LED, and then kind of use your fingers to straighten the baby out. So now when you look at it, it looks like that. And we now have a resistor in line. So the next step here is I would like to attach some wire to it so I can get power from somewhere else. And so I'm going to be using this wire wrapping wire. I have a black and white, and I'm just going to cut off, I don't know, about 8 inches, which is probably well more than I need, but you never know. Sometimes it helps to have a little extra. And let's strip one end. So our wire wrapping wire now has stripped ends, and I'm going to perform kind of the same maneuver. I'm using white for positive and black for negative with this wiring scheme, but let's do what I did before. Let's take the wire and sort of thumb it together like that on the resistor. If I could grab it here. And then we're going to take it and wrap it around the end of the resistor like that, so you can see it's the same routine we did with the resistor to the LED, except that we're just attaching some wire. Now I'm going to scooch this real close to the resistor piece itself because I'm kind of working in a short, sort of a small space, and the less wire I got to cram in there, the better. So now let's go to our helping hands again, and same story. Let's grab the lens and then get our iron out and some solder, and we'll do the same trick. We will get a little solder right on the end there and then touch it to what we're connecting and let it smoke away. Alright, so now we have an LED with a resistor in line, and now a length of wire which we can use to attach to wherever it's headed next. And I'm going to pull this just off camera so I can trim up the two leads that are hanging out, which would be that one and then the actual rest of the resistor. So now when we look at the assembly, it looks like that. Move it over here where the clippers aren't in the way. Now the next thing I usually do is I usually make sure all of my positive stuff is covered up in the model, whether it's with electrical tape or regular tape or whatever, just in case if anything shifts, we're not going to short something out. And so one of the easy things to do with This stuff is with a product called Heat Shrink, and it's basically this shrinkable black tube and it's called Heat Shrink because when you apply heat it shrinks. And so I'm going to cut off a length of this that will cover up that exposed wire on the positive end, and we're going to take this down the white wire all the way down to the resistor, and as you can see it covers that whole section up. It's loose right now, you can move it around, but when we hit it with some heat, and I'm just going to use a lighter here, let's just heat this up. And it looks like it charred the wire a little bit, but as you can see it shrunk all the way around that whole piece of wire, and you can actually see the silhouette of the resistor in there. So the next step is let's attach a length of wire to the other lead, and since we already have a resistor in place, all we got to do is just attach the wire to the lead. So same routine, let's clamp that with our thumb. Try to, and wrap the wire around a couple times, scooch it up. So now, same dealy bob that we had before. See that the wire is coiled around it, and now same routine with our helping hands. Grab the resistor, or I'm sorry, the LED. Get our soldering iron out, and let's solder this baby. All right, that easy. Okay, so a little bit closer now. You can see that is attached. And let me pull this off camera once again, and with my clippers, let's just clip off the leads that we don't need. The leads that we don't need. Almost sounds like a rhyme. Now with this, you can see hard time focusing here. All right, there we go. So you can see that we've got the little bit of exposed wire, but that's on the negative side, which usually I don't worry too much about that. And given how close this one is to the actual LED, the hot glue will probably insulate it. If I was worried about it, we'll just perform the same heat shrink routine that we did last time on the negative side as well. So the last thing to do is we need to test and make sure that this thing still works. So it's a little bit easier now since the LED is actually in line. We don't have to worry about the whole clip lead, so we'll just attach red to there and black to there, and voila, we have an LED with resistor in line and ready to be applied into a model. So there you go, and I appreciate you tuning in to Modeler X. Hope to continue providing how-tos on my channel, and if you have questions, feel free to email me. It's scott@modelerx.com, and we have a website too, www.modelerx.com, and it's not too far along other than looking at my YouTube videos, but I hope to put resources and things like how to mix thinners for different sorts of paints. What are the ratios? I'll probably put a chart up for all the different resistors needed for the different types of LEDs, but I'm hoping to move that site along, and we're sort of in our infancy. I think this is the 11th or 12th video, and it's fun to do. I feel like you guys are sort of hanging out with me as we're doing the modeling thing, and once you get the hang of these things, you can sort of crank stuff out. So anyways, I'm just rambling. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Modeler X.